Jordan Peterson, with his calm and sharp demeanor, challenged Elon Musk, the man who rarely lets anyone doubt his scientific and technological theories, about something Musk had never confronted: Christianity. In a heated debate, Peterson continuously posed questions that forced Musk to reconsider everything he had built up until that point. This challenge would lead Musk into profound reflections, completely altering his perception of the world. And his final answer would shock everyone. Before we continue this story, where are you watching from? And if you find this story interesting, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Specifically, at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow, we will bring you a special story that you can't miss. The atmosphere in the hall was tense, as if every passing second carried a heavy responsibility. Everyone in the room couldn't take their eyes off the stage, where two great intellectuals were preparing to face off in a debate that they knew would not be like any other conversation. The question Jordan Peterson was about to ask was not just a challenge of theory, but also a test of Elon Musk himself, the man who had built a tech empire based on logic and science. The debate began in a heavy silence. Peterson looked at Musk, his gaze sharp and resolute. "Elon," he spoke softly but with certainty, "have you ever wondered about the deeper meaning of life? Do you think that Christianity, with all its values of love, sacrifice, and salvation, might hold a truth that science cannot explain?" All eyes in the room turned to Musk, waiting for an answer from the man who had always been calm in the face of challenges. Musk paused for a moment, deep in thought. "I've always believed in what can be proven, Jordan," he said, his eyes lighting up as he responded. "Science is the tool we use to understand this world. I respect people's beliefs, but I believe in reason and data." The challenge in Musk's response made the atmosphere in the room even more intense. But Peterson did not back down. He continued with a probing question. "So, do you think reason can give us purpose? Or is it just an empty existence with no beginning or end?" The question was like a ticking time bomb, shaking the silence in the hall. The whole room awaited Musk's response, as he faced a challenge not from technology or invention, but from the very questions of life's meaning. Peterson looked at Musk intently, as if trying to reach him not just as a conversationalist, but as a friend, a guide. Musk sighed softly, his eyes dropping as though searching for the right words to express thoughts he had never shared before. Finally, he spoke. "I think the purpose of life is to create lasting value, things that can make the world a better place. I don't know if there is anything greater than this existence, but I believe in improving this reality." Peterson remained silent, looking at Musk with understanding, yet unwilling to let go of the opportunity to push him further into questions of faith. "But Elon, how can you know what is good? Who decides what is right? Can science, relying only on data and theory, help us determine these things?" Peterson's question was like a wave crashing forcefully into Musk's mind. Musk paused, his gaze silently fixed ahead, where the sparkling lights of the hall seemed to accentuate the unease within him. Could he answer this question without revealing doubts he had never dared to face before? Finally, Musk responded, his voice lowering. "I think what benefits humanity, advances social progress, is what is good. This is how we define value." Peterson listened, nodding, but did not cease challenging. "But Elon, who will set that standard? Can we rely on reason alone to give us the final answer on what is right and wrong?" The entire hall fell into silence, all eyes fixed on Musk. Now, it was no longer just a debate about theories or technology. It was a struggle between reason and faith, between seeking the truth and accepting things that cannot be seen or measured. Peterson asked the next question, his voice calm and gentle, yet carrying the weight of thousands of thoughts. "Elon, you've built an empire from science and technology, things you can measure, analyze, and verify. But do you think science can explain everything in life? For example, Can science explain love, sacrifice, or even the human soul? The question deepened the silence in the room. Everyone looked at Musk, waiting for an answer they could not predict. Musk seemed to think for a long while, leaning back, his gaze lost in deep reflections that perhaps even he had never wanted to acknowledge. Finally, Musk spoke, his voice steady yet carrying a hint of seriousness. Science has helped us understand a lot about the world around us. But there are things we still can't explain. Maybe one day, we will understand those things better. But not right now. Peterson smiled faintly, his gaze understanding yet relentless. Then is that enough? Can science answer the deeper questions about life? Like why we exist? What our purpose is? Or is that a question that only faith can answer? Peterson's question was like an arrow aimed directly at the heart of the conversation. A challenge that wasn't easily overcome. Once again, the hall fell silent. No one daring to move. Everyone was waiting for Musk's response. The man who had always believed in reason and data. Was he ready to face questions far beyond the scope of scientific understanding? Musk slowly replied, his voice deep and thoughtful. I believe each person will find their own purpose. Everyone has their way of looking at life and determining their own value. But I'm not sure there's a universal answer for everyone. Peterson listened, then continued, but can we only rely on our own judgment to determine such grand things as the purpose of life? Is that a way to confront existential questions? Or is it simply a way for us to comfort ourselves in an uncertain world? Peterson's final question was like a heavy question mark, hanging in the air. The entire hall felt the tension that could not be expressed in words. They were not just witnessing a debate about science and religion, but a struggle between reason and faith, between the tangible and the intangible, between explaining the world with data and believing in something beyond it all. The debate between Jordan Peterson and Elon Musk was approaching a crucial turning point. The lights illuminated the faces of both men, and the atmosphere grew heavy, as if everyone was preparing for an uncompromising confrontation. Peterson, with a calm yet challenging tone, began to ask the next question, one that would surely make Musk reconsider what he believed. Elon, Peterson said, you've mentioned the importance of logic and reason in problem solving. But I want to ask you this. Have you ever found a kind of peace that science cannot explain? A peace that comes from faith? From believing in something greater than yourself? Musk looked at Peterson, his eyes thoughtful. The crowd in the hall seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the answer. Musk, though a man steadfast in reason, was now confronted with a profound question, beyond the realm of numbers and theories. For me, Musk replied, his voice gentle but firm, peace comes from dedicating oneself to something meaningful. My work, the inventions I'm creating, they are the inspiration, the drive for me. I find peace in doing things I believe are right. Peterson nodded, but his gaze still carried doubt. But what happens when that work is finished? Elon? When there are no grand goals left to pursue? When we are left with only ourselves? Facing emptiness? Do you think science and technology can give us peace in moments like that? Peterson's words hung in the air, and the entire hall felt the rising tension. Musk fell silent, his gaze seemingly lost in an endless void. That question was so difficult to find a clear answer to. Can we find peace without faith? Peterson asked. The question brief yet sharp, like a knife cutting through the space. Musk remained silent. This time, there was no quick answer. Each of Peterson's words seemed to press Musk to face a question he had never truly thought about before. After a moment of silence, Peterson continued, his voice soft yet carrying a weight that was hard to imagine. So, in your view, what is the true meaning of life? Is it the inventions, the creations we leave for the world? Or could it be that the meaning of life is something deeper? Something we cannot grasp with reason? This time, all eyes in the hall were fixed on Musk. Peterson's questions were not only a challenge to reason, but a challenge to Musk's very deep-seated beliefs. He leaned back, pensive, his hands folded on the table. People were waiting for an answer, but perhaps even Musk wasn't sure if he could find a satisfactory one. Finally, he replied, his voice cautious. I think the meaning of life lies in creation. It's the human ability to create, to build things that can last. That's the goal I'm working towards. Peterson was not in a hurry. He listened carefully, and then gently asked, but can creating lasting things be all there is? Could the meaning of life simply be creating works that one day will be forgotten? Isn't the true meaning of life about connecting with something greater? Something more eternal? This question made the atmosphere even heavier. The audience was watching intently, not only because they wanted to know the answer, but because they felt this was the defining moment, where two worldviews were colliding. Musk sat up straight, his gaze fixed on Peterson, as if searching for an answer within himself. He did not respond immediately, but everyone could feel the pressure of that question. The tension in the room seemed to reach its peak, as everyone in the hall wondered, is Musk standing at a crossroads in his life, where reason and faith intersect? The room seemed to be suffocating in a heavy atmosphere, with murmurs and whispers from the audience echoing in the space as they waited for Musk's next answer. Peterson's question had shaken Musk's thoughts, causing his mind to waver as it never had before. Can work bring peace forever? Peterson said, his gaze sharp like a knife, piercing through every layer of Musk's defenses. Or in moments without work, when it's just you, will you have to face something greater than the ideas you are pursuing? Musk, who was always known for his confidence, was now lost in thought. Before this question, he couldn't simply reply with conventional reasoning. It seemed that Peterson had triggered something in his soul that he had never wanted to admit. What I do, what I create, that is my meaning, Musk replied, but his voice sounded less certain than usual. I find comfort in my work and creations, and I hope that it brings something good to the world. Peterson watched him closely, his voice becoming softer, yet still carrying an undeniable challenge. But Elon, how do you know what is truly good? How do you define right and wrong without a deep value system? Without faith in something greater than yourself? Without God? What will you use to guide your life? Musk paused, and for the first time during the entire debate, he did not respond immediately. His eyes dropped, his hands clenched, as if searching for the answer within himself. The silence in the room seemed to suffocate him, challenging every belief he had trusted until now. We cannot determine what is good without something sacred to lean on, Peterson continued. Each word he spoke seemed to sink into the hearts of those present. Truth, tolerance, forgiveness, where do all these things come from? If not from a greater, more powerful source than us? As everyone remained silent, waiting for a response from Musk, Peterson continued to challenge him. If you don't find a solid moral system from something sacred, how can you identify good and evil in this complex world? Musk lifted his head. Peterson's question was like a lightning bolt in the dark, causing everything in his mind to begin to gradually change. His voice, which was usually strong, now softened, as if for the first time he was facing himself. I'm not sure. Musk's voice softened, his hands no longer as steady as before. I've always believed in logic and science, but your words have made me think. I'm not sure if I've ever thought about ethics the way you describe. I might be missing something important. The audience couldn't believe what they had just heard. This was an incredible moment, when Musk, who had always prided himself on his intellect and independence, admitted that he didn't have all the answers. His hesitation, the self-questioning he had just displayed, left the entire room in silence. Could this be the turning point everyone had been waiting for? The crowd couldn't stop talking, But they all realized that this conversation was not just about reason or faith. It was a journey deep into the human soul. A journey that even the wealthiest and most powerful had to face, questioning the purpose and true meaning of life. In the silent auditorium, Peterson noticed a small but clear sign. Musk was beginning to change. He gently leaned forward, his voice still soft but filled with determination, as if wanting to release the burden within him. "Elon," he began, "we can make great strides. But is that all there is? Everything we do has meaning when we realize there is a greater purpose, an invisible force guiding us. And that is God. When we understand that, we don't just live, we truly exist." Musk hesitated, his gaze distant, as if these words were touching a hidden corner of his soul. The whole room was silent, waiting. There was a dense atmosphere, as if everyone was watching this small but important change. Musk smiled faintly, as if trying to hide the growing confusion within him. "I've always thought that only actions bring value. But your words make me begin to wonder. Is there something beyond just doing? Is there something that gives meaning to what I create?" That answer was like a stone thrown into a pond, creating ripples in the hearts of the audience. Those present could feel a change in how Musk viewed the world. He had never shown this kind of uncertainty before. Peterson, sensing the important moment, continued, "You can create products that change the world, Elon. But have you ever thought that the true purpose of our lives isn't to change the world, but to change ourselves? How can we know what is good without guidance from something greater than ourselves?" Musk was silent for a moment, as if thinking about what he had just heard. Finally, he sighed, looked directly into Peterson's eyes, and his voice softened, as if opening up. "I've never looked at the issue that way. Everything I've done has been based on logic, on calculations. But what you say, I feel like there's something truly right about it." Peterson smiled, his gaze becoming deeper. "So, Elon, maybe right now you don't see it all. But when you realize that we are all guided by a purpose greater than ourselves, then work, love, and everything we do will have eternal meaning." The auditorium fell silent, not out of tension, but because everyone felt the depth of this conversation. Could this be a sign of a major change in Musk's way of thinking? Musk leaned back, his gaze thoughtful. He began to feel that maybe this world was not just about technology and creativity. Perhaps there was something beyond all of that, something that transcended everything he had ever known. After a long moment, Musk looked up, his eyes lighting up in surprise. "Maybe I haven't understood it all," he whispered. "There might be something more than everything I have pursued. I want to learn more." The audience erupted in applause like a massive wave. They could hardly believe what they had just witnessed. Musk, who had always prided himself on his belief in science and reason, had now opened up to something he had never considered, faith. And that no one could have predicted. The debate ended not with a clear victory, but with the beginning of a new journey. Not just for Musk, but for everyone who was listening. Both Musk and Peterson were now faced with a bigger question. A question about purpose. About the guidance of an invisible force. And that would change everything. In the days following the debate, the air was filled with anticipation and curiosity. Something unexpected had happened. Elon Musk, who was known for his pragmatic and cold mindset, was now struggling with deep, internal questions. The ideas of faith, the presence of God, and the purpose of life that Jordan Peterson had sparked in that conversation kept swirling in Musk's mind, preventing him from being as calm as he had been before. The entire world was on edge, wondering whether Musk would change his perspective, or whether this was just a fleeting moment in the flow of his rational thoughts. But in reality, Musk had taken the time to contemplate the questions Peterson had raised. For him, these were no longer passing thoughts. but existential issues that haunted him every day. One afternoon, in his office, Musk sat absent-mindedly looking out the window. His mind felt like it was caught in a whirlwind, a mix of reason and emotions he had never tried to feel before. Is everything I do just a series of meaningless achievements? He wondered. Could there be a deeper purpose beyond conquering space? Creating breakthrough technologies? For years, Musk had lived with the belief that work was everything, that innovation and creativity were the ultimate goals. But now, he felt as though he was being pulled into a new realm, where questions about faith, about life's purpose, and about God were becoming clearer. That evening, Musk couldn't stop thinking. He decided to seek help from someone he trusted, Peterson, who had lived with unwavering faith throughout his life. Musk knew he couldn't find all the answers on his own. He wrote a message to Peterson, asking to meet him again. Peterson, though he had been preparing for this moment for a long time, immediately agreed. A reunion between the two was quietly arranged, like a final punctuation mark for a larger story. The world once again held its breath in anticipation. Would Musk be ready to embrace the faith Peterson had sparked? Or would he continue down the path of reason, ignoring everything he had just experienced? It was still a big question, and the answers would only come when the two faced each other once more, in a conversation that could change everything. As Musk entered Peterson's office, the air seemed to thicken. Every step he took echoed in the quiet space, reflecting the unease in his heart. His eyes met Peterson's, a light in them filled with both curiosity and an inescapable doubt. Am I standing at the most important crossroads of my life? Musk wondered. Peterson looked at Musk with understanding, noticing the clear change in the man before him. Musk was no longer the confident, decisive figure he once was. Now, there was a weakness, a quiet confusion creeping into every glance, every gesture. I've been thinking about everything we discussed, Musk said, his voice anxious yet carrying a glimmer of hope. I feel like I'm standing between two paths. Is there really something greater than the world I'm pursuing? But how can I know if God is real? How can I believe in something I've never seen, never felt? Peterson looked directly into Musk's eyes, his gaze firm yet full of empathy. He had witnessed hundreds of people struggle with the same question. But this time, something was different. Musk, Peterson began, his voice gentle but certain. Faith is not a piece of the puzzle of perfect answers. It's a surrender, a belief in something beyond oneself. Faith is daring to believe that there is a purpose greater than everything we know. Musk listened quietly, his eyes lighting up. But deep inside, there were still so many things left unanswered. But what if I'm wrong? Musk asked, his voice trembling with fear. What if it's all just a fantasy? What if I've spent my entire life chasing something that isn't real? Peterson stared at Musk for a moment, then answered calmly, but with deep sincerity. Elon, faith is not certainty. Faith is being open to possibilities that cannot yet be understood. It's accepting that there is a bigger plan for you, even if you can't see it right now. Musk quietly leaned back, his eyes lost in thought. Peterson's words were like a gentle wave, pulling him into a deep emotional current. And for the first time, he felt that he was standing at the threshold of something incredibly important, yet unsure whether he had the courage to step through. In the days that followed, Musk's internal struggle continued unabated. He began trying things he had never thought about before. In quiet moments, he prayed, not a perfect prayer, but words spoken sincerely from the depths of his heart. Though he didn't fully understand what he was doing, there was a certain feeling within him, a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, there was something greater out there listening to him. One Sunday, Musk went to church, sitting in a pew, listening to a sermon about faith, redemption, and God's boundless love. A strange feeling rose within him. He couldn't explain it, but his heart beat faster, as if there was a deep connection between the sermon and the thoughts in his mind. When the service ended, Musk stepped outside, feeling the cold air as a reminder of the journey he was on. He felt as though he had just crossed a new threshold, lighter, but still full of unanswered questions. That evening, sitting alone in his office, Musk closed his eyes and whispered a small but sincere prayer. God, if you are real, please show me the way. I don't have all the answers, but I'm ready to trust. Though it was just a simple prayer, for Musk, it was a beginning, a first step on a path he had never known. In the months that followed, a quiet change began to take shape in Musk's life. It felt as if he had started to vaguely realize that things were not just about striving and success in his work. The long days seemed less tense, and his mind was no longer consumed by the material achievements he could attain. Instead, Musk began to ask himself, does what I do really hold any deeper meaning? Am I living for something greater than what I can create? In the midst of his reflections, Musk turned to Peterson. But this time, his tone no longer carried the confidence of a man who had succeeded. Instead, it was that of someone confronting doubts and a yearning for change. Jordan, I've tried to pray, but it feels like everything is still unclear. How do I know for sure that I'm on the right path? How do I know that I'm truly being guided by something greater than myself? Peterson looked at Musk gently, as though he understood every corner of those doubts. His eyes were not only filled with understanding but with deep empathy. He replied in a calm voice, gentle yet firm. Elon, faith is not a search for certainty. Faith is the courage to walk in the dark without needing to see the destination. It's a willingness to trust in something higher, even when you cannot touch it. Musk sat silently, pondering these words, as though a gentle wave swept through his mind. The questions that had arisen within him no longer caused the same confusion as before. A few months later, Musk stood on a large stage, the lights shining on his face. No longer the creator of groundbreaking technologies. This time he stood before an audience not to introduce a product or a new milestone in his career, but to share a part of his own journey, the journey of seeking the truth. For many years, I've only thought about how to build a better world through technology, Musk said, his voice no longer dry, but filled with sincerity. But now I understand that the world doesn't just need technology. We need to connect with something greater, something that cannot be measured by any tools. His words echoed in the silent space, touching the hearts of those listening. They didn't just see Musk, the great creator of the century, but a man searching for peace within his own soul. Could this be the moment Musk truly finds redemption for himself? Could he find the long-lost faith? No one could be certain. But at least he had stepped into a door that opened to a world he had never dared to imagine. And though he didn't know what the future held, Musk understood that this was only the first step on a new journey in his life. No matter how the world may turn, no matter how many challenges and doubts lie ahead, he knew he was walking on a path full of meaning. And although that path might be long and arduous, he had begun to find the light guiding the way. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any interesting stories from us. We always bring you engaging, inspiring, and meaningful content. Please share this video if you found it helpful. And make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much. Note, this is a fictional story, meant for entertainment and to convey meaningful messages. The content in this video is not related to any real events and is not intended to imply or criticize any individual, organization, or event. Any resemblance to real-life events is purely coincidental. We disclaim any responsibility for any misunderstandings.